Margaret Flowers. I have been doing activism around healthcare reform and other social justice issues, and I'm one of the core organizers for the October 2011 movement. I've been with this movement since its inception, and we've been talking about this since December of last year, but really started sitting down and organizing it after we did a test run in action in New York City in April. We started meeting after that and went public with this action, in June, actually June 6th. And we have a steering committee of about 45 people. We have about another 55 people around the country that have been organizing locally. And we to kind of pull this together has been hundreds of hours literally of conference calls every Sunday night, multiple hour conference calls with everybody, as well as throughout the week, committees having 1 or 2 hour conference calls to work on specifics like the medical team and the legal team and the press team and those kinds of things. So it's been a lot of work for me. It's been consuming for the last 6 months, from the minute I wake up in the morning until I go to bed late at night. And we're very excited. We never anticipated when we started talking about this that there would be a whole Occupy movement that would sweep the country, and so we're just thrilled that this is happening, and that now there are, I think I've heard 300 occupations either going on or being planned around the country, and solidarity actions happening around the world. It's a really transformative time, and we're so excited about it.
The whole idea of what has become these occupations is about democracy and people finding their voice, and I think we shouldn't try to control the message. I think the fact that people are coming here is because they've heard about these occupations, they're excited about it, they've got something they want to say, and we want the media to feel free to talk to anybody. We also tended to be an elder group.
Together and try to get a little more clarity. On the one hand, anybody who comes here is part of this. They have a right to speak, and we know there are going to be people here that are really not the people we want here, and we can't really stop them from having, giving a government message, whatever. So, democracy, hey, what we're all about. You have to let.
We chose this date because it's the 10th anniversary of the invasion of Afghanistan, but we also chose the beginning of October because it's the onset of the new federal budget, and we wanted to make this broader than the war, because there's a war in Afghanistan, because there's a war happening actually everywhere right now. There's a war on the people in our own country. We have economic sanctions being waged against us in terms of unemployment, lack of health care, difficulty affording an education, being kicked out of our houses. So it's both the wars abroad and the wars here at home, and we're hoping we can connect all this together. And
I wanted to say, unfortunately, I think a lot of what has made Wall Street exciting to people who haven't been involved in movements before is that it is seemingly an organic expression of what it is. And as much as we need structure in what we do here, we also need to be conscious that there is an example of something without structure out there, and that the more structure we put on this and that we show will be interpreted as people behind it orchestrating it.
If you're behind me, you can tap me on the shoulder. Okay, Vidya, go ahead. Oh, I'd say let's be open about that too, because you can't just create something beforehand and then people come in with new ideas. So there's a structure that's been proposed that's open to change, and everything's got to be open to change. This is the moment of change, and if we seem like we're stuck in past ways of organizing which haven't worked, then we're not being this embracing kind of grassroots group that we want to model. And
we wanted to start on a Thursday because that's when business as usual is going on in DC. And if we're going to stop the machine, we need to do that on a day when business is in session. So we wanted to have an action because after that we have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday's a holiday. So we did go ahead and plan something for tomorrow that we think is kind of at the heart of what this is all about, the corporate control of our political process. And so the Arts Committee has put together a march, and so you've heard about the sashes and the very cool things that Bill Moyer and his people at the Backbone Campaign have put together. So we're going to be marching to the Chamber of Commerce, and we should talk a little bit about
that we're going to all then start in March. It'll start at Freedom Plaza. It'll go up by the Treasury building here on 15th. It'll cross in front of the White House. And then the White House is directly across from the Chamber of Commerce. We'll then go to the Chamber of Commerce. There'll be a legal picket. You're allowed to picket outside of buildings here. We'll have a picket that goes outside, and we'll have lots of great signage already made. And then there'll be a group of people who want to block the chamber. And they will do a sit-in. This is the initial plan that's open for discussion, of course. This is what we want to get to K Street. There's a lot on K Street. Colonel Ann Wright has put out a list of ideas, and we're going to kind of work on this schedule, this path tomorrow to make sure we cover. The Koch brothers are on the way, some major lobby firms, the law firm for Hunt and Wood, for the Chamber of Commerce that was doing a spying program on activists. So we're going to do some various things along there, but the main purpose of K Street is to be lining K Street at rush hour. K Street's a big street with sidewalks, meridians, so we can line the streets with lots of signs and let the city know we're here. The first assembly, which we were thinking about, would just focus on really one issue at this stage, because now we haven't had committee meetings and stuff. One issue being sleeping that night, which we can talk about separately, but where we're going to sleep, how we're going to sleep, and what we're going to do about that. So that's the kind of layout in general sense of the first action. So comments on that.
Okay, and I have us back. I have Jeffrey, Tig, and Lisa. Let me just get, I don't know your name back there.
Ashley?
Ashley, okay. And Ashley, Linda, Medea. Okay, all right. Jeffrey, go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Jeffrey. I'm on the steering committee on the civil resistance part of
banner. But we've got this incredible, huge Chamber of Horrors banner. It says Chamber of Corporate Horrors, you know, warning, corporate bullies inside, enter at your own risk, and it's got great graphics on it. I mean, you're gonna love it when you see it, and then the media is gonna love it. You know, it's really good. When you see the graphics, you're gonna love it.
previous marches in DC, where we did just start marching on the street, and the police basically cleared the street for us. So they don't really want people to get hurt or get arrested in Washington, D.C. They have actions happening like all the time. And so I'm thinking that we can play it by ear, but probably if we move into the street some, unless the police corral us back on the sidewalk, I think we'll be okay.
The labor union folks had said that they have this huge job sign, and it would be cool for people to fill out resumes and try to take them in and say we want a job. So we printed up some sheets that said I want a job, here's my resume, and you can fill it in, and then we'd like a group of people to try to take them into the chamber, and if the chamber won't accept them and won't give any jobs, then we ask them to take down that job sign because it's false advertising.
I'm just going to speak really briefly to this, but I haven't confirmed if the information I'm getting is that there's more arrests in New York today. There's also arrests in Seattle today. Given that if we have a CD action, it may play in. It's not necessarily that you want to top the other cities, but it's more, the media may view us as a second tier story comparative to the other protests. Just in point of observation.
arrested Pershing Park in 2004, and the aftermath of those illegal arrests, DC law was clarified.
Right.
And a First Amendment demonstration, a spontaneous demonstration that goes into the street is protected under DC law. People need to understand that, and the lawyers here know that. And we should all know that. So we should feel safe.
On the arrest thing, I just, personal opinion, as someone who's been arrested a lot, I don't think it would be all that helpful for people to get arrested tomorrow. I think we want to build our numbers towards the weekend when people have time off. I want them to feel comfortable that they can bring their families, their kids, that people who are concerned about their immigration status can come, and I think we can save arrests till the days after the weekend.
Okay, Udi.
I just want to point out, I mean, we can reasonably expect the police to do certain things, but then they could also surprise us.
That's right.
We all know that last weekend, a lot of the people walking on the Brooklyn Bridge did not intend to get arrested. 700 got arrested, so we need to keep that in mind.
There's been a get kettled, and that was kettling. Kettling is when you get driven into a space, you're blocked at one end, blocked at the other, and there's no way up. You're sitting ducks. If we, as we're walking around, marching, demonstrating, whatever you want to call it, allow ourselves to be funneled into something in that way, we're trapped.
I mean, I think do we have consensus around marching with possible route changes proposed by Medea to the chamber, doing what Kevin described?
With Medea's additions.
Yeah, that's what I said. And then we'll be coming back here for the assembly. All right, so then we move on with the scheduling. Margot.
Great. Okay, so after the march, we come back here. One of the issues that we need to resolve tomorrow is how we're going to stay in the plaza. And we felt very strongly that this was a decision. It's not a question of whether we're staying. We are staying in the plaza. It's a question of how we're staying. Because DC law does not allow you to put a tent up for sleeping. Other occupations have chosen not to use tents for that very reason. Occupy DC has been sleeping on the sidewalk where it's legal. We have to decide whether we're here to physically occupy this space with tents, or are we here to occupy this space and without tents, and that way avoid making this be about tents or not tents, because we're not here about tents or not tents. We're not going to decide that here tonight, but we're going to decide.
Two rules in these federal areas, these federal parks, that's what we're in. No camping. That means no tents, no sleeping. You can stay here. We need to stay here, in fact, to protect all of our stuff. So people will be staying here, we will be staying here. But the strange thing is, even though you can't sleep in the plaza, you can sleep on the sidewalk in Washington, D.C. So you can take your sleeping bag and go sleep in front of a bank. So we might decide tomorrow that rather than sleeping in the plaza, the people who want to sleep tomorrow night, we pick a bunch of banks and we all go sleep in front of banks with signs that say you foreclosed on America, we're sleeping in front of your bank.
Yeah. Where you start, like, what is it going to look like when you get hundreds or even 1,000 people out here on the Freedom Plaza? To me, I was like, it's going to be crazy.
That's what we need.
I mean, that is good publicity, because that's one thing DC has learned to prevent. It's publicity. They don't put it out. You know what I'm saying? They'd rather go around it, find a way to beat it down, to harass, but they don't like publicity here. You know, but you get that many people out here, I don't know what's going to happen. I would believe, like what my brother said here, is just get a lot of boxes and say you homeless. It's an occupation. You don't have to say where you live. I mean, right now government is making everybody homeless. So I mean, you have a right, if you're gonna sleep outside, to say that I don't have a home. I might have a place to stay, but I'm homeless, and get some boxes or some sleeping bags and see what happens. I don't put tents up. I wouldn't do it. You're asking for a greater confrontation when you really want to build a movement and put information out. You don't want to just have a crackdown so fast, you know, because a crackdown can disappear. You want something like New York, where it's a constant struggle, and then you get maybe a little confrontation. You get to show how the police officer's an asshole, and then you get more publicity, and then you keep it going, just to have a fast crackdown and let them show, you know, let the fear keep the people from actually standing out. I would say get boxes, sleeping bags, you know, deal with, it's nice weather right now. You know what I'm saying? some long johns on and deal with it. I think it can happen, but you start putting these big old tents up and all that, I think they ain't not gonna happen. That's just my opinion. I thought about, you know, it's not gonna happen.
Okay, I have that.
Is to bring as much furniture into this place. We live here. So I'm going to bring couches and tables and lamps and anything else I can find. We're going to create a library here. We're going to have bookshelves on this thing. And anybody who sees anything laying around in the streets of DC, bring it right in here. Because this is
Kevin Zeese, I'm one of the organizers of October2011.org.
Can you give me some idea about the work that has gone into putting this together?
We started 6 months ago with about 5 people. Our steering committee has grown to about 45, and tomorrow it grows to probably about 1,000, or multiple thousands, hopefully. We picked October 6th because it's the beginning of the 11th year of the Afghanistan war. It's also the first week of the new federal fiscal year, so you have a new budget. That is an austerity budget for everything except for militarism. And so that was an opportunity to bring together people from a wide range of issues, not just anti-war and peace, but also people who are focused on economic issues and environmental issues, jobs and health, because all that will be cut back as the austerity budget kicks in. So it was a great opportunity to bring people together. And then as we talked about, we've got a lot of discussion, consensus process in the steering committee, so it's challenging and slow, but we've kind of worked toward various issues, and all this can be reconsidered tomorrow when the assembly starts to get together. But our basic message is end corporate rule, and that means end corporatism and militarism. It means putting in place a different kind of participatory democracy rather than a system that runs on dollars and concentrated wealth.
As I look around, I'm seeing quite a bit of activity going on. Can you give me some idea of the logistics that's gone into this?
You're just seeing the beginning of it. There's a lot of logistics. You can see the stage behind me with the We the People sign on it. That's a great piece of artwork from the Backbone campaign. We're going to have art, health tents, legal tents, food tents. We're going to have an art section. We're going to have, of course, porta potties. We're going to have people with chairs to sit in to watch the rally. We're going to have all sorts of media hookups so the media can hook into it. It's just an incredibly big operation to deal with thousands of people. And what makes it complicated is also we don't know how many people will be there. We started this before Occupy Wall Street. And of course, that's kind of exploded in the last couple weeks, and so that's changed things. So we'll see what kind of turnout we get tomorrow. It'll be very interesting to see.